Thank you for staying with us. We're discussing the battle for Senate presidency for the 10th National Assembly with the former Commissioner for Information in Edo State, Kassim Afegbua. Mr. Afegbua, now let's go on. You've been making a case for the South-South since the start of the show, and I must say that you're not alone. Some analysts are also making a case for the South-South to produce the next Senate president. Tell me more.
Don't forget that I'm from the South-South.
I know.
I always like to put my interests in the front burner of national discourse so that people can see exactly what we are talking about. And in doing that, I'm also conscious of the role of other geopolitical zones. The Northwest, for example, also putting so much support in the elections of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, whether you like it or not. In fact, the northern governors of the APC are to me the heroes of this democracy because they insisted that power must shift to the southern part of the country to reduce or minimize the level of schisms and political bad blood that has dominated public discourse in recent times. And so after 8 years of a President Buhari, they felt that it was only natural and fair to allow the South to produce a candidate. And that was why Bola Ahmed Tinubu emerged as the candidate of the APC. With that kind of mindset, I want to commend the northern governors, those who are leaving office and those who are returning, that they understand, they read the mood of the country rightly by ceding that presidency to the southern part of the country to build stability, to build cohesion, to build a deepened democracy so that everyone will have a sense of belonging. Now, having gotten to that stage, it is now left for us to begin to agitate for what we think will be seen and considered as fair in the way and manner that power is distributed across the country. I've told you earlier on that with the same faith ticket and all of that, it will be fair enough to have people of other religion occupy the position of Senate President, even the speakership of the Assembly and all that. You can bring in Muslims for Deputy Senate President or Deputy Speaker and all of that, depending on what the party thinks is right. But the party must be conscious, deliberately, to understand these sentiments and these emotions, because they've been promoted to some level that is disturbing, to the psyche of the average Nigerian. If you look at some of the candidates for the presidential election, some of them took it on the basis of pro-Christian, campaign, some, pro-ethnic campaign and all of that. That shouldn't be the thinking in this contemporary age of Nigeria. We should be looking at Nigeria holistically and play religion, at the background. But as much as you want to see that kind of scenario, it is not going away. The discussions every day, open newspapers, open magazines, listening to radio discourse, television discourse, all you hear is all about religion, balancing, this balancing, that balancing. And because of our secular status, you need to also factor in some of these issues, because democracy and government will only flourish well if there is stability, there is tranquility, and there is a buy-in of the civil populace in whatever you are doing. If you come up with a policy and you don't get the right people to drive that policy, it's going to hit the Golgotha. And so, a government that is conscious of its own role and that is ready to deliver on electoral promises must balance all the centripetal and the centrifugal forces, create that aggregate interest that will help every geopolitical zone to have a sense of belonging. So my position on the southern part of the country, the South-South geopolitical, is the critical role that the South-South occupies. The critical position of the South-South as the economic hub of the country. You see, you talk about refineries, you try to talk about pipelines and all of that. They all take their origin from the South-South region. You need to keep them within that bracket. That yes, we appreciate the fact that this is the economic hub of the country, the treasure base and all of that. We also factor in your political interests and all of that. So if you have a Senate President number 3 position coming from that zone, it will help to put pay to all the cries of marginalization, agitations here and there. And in the final analysis, help to create that stability that you need for the country to grow. Whether you like it or not, if there is tremor, political turmoil in the South-South region, it will also distract from our economic well-being, whether you like it or not. These are the realities in the Nigerian context, and we are saying that this is just an appeal. We are not threatening anybody. We are not saying you must do this, no. But we are saying that the political party APC must put into consideration some of these factors, some of these issues, in balancing the political algorithms across the country with respect to South-South geopolitical zone as the economic hub, as the treasure base of the country. And doing that will help to create some level of stability and tranquility.
So, Mr. Afegbua, we also have some senators from the Northwest Zone who are interested in the Senate presidency. How do you see this?
Well, it will be a scar. It will cast a slur, on the credibility of the APC as a brand for anybody from the Northwest to be considering occupying the position of Senate President. Before now, when the same-faith ticket came on stream, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president-elect, and his vice, Kassim Shettima, when they came on stream on the same-faith ticket, I remember that quite a number of persons left the APC. You have a Daniel Buwala, you have a Babachilawa, you have the Yakubu Dogara. You have quite a number of persons who, even though you even have Najatu Muhammad, who went on the streets telling all manners of lies on the basis of same-faith ticket and saying that, but at the end of the day, they were political Lilliputians who couldn't deliver even their polling units and word. But in their narration, they were talking about Islamization agenda, and that is also very fundamental. So we need to disabuse their minds by that Islamization agenda by ensuring that we have a Christian or other religions occupying Senate President, speakership position, and all of that, in the interest of national peace and prosperity. I'm not going to begrudge the Northwest Zone of their aspiration, but I'm saying that they must see reasons, deliberately and consciously, to be able to move the wheel of progress forward. As a country, as a plural country like Nigeria, with so many interests competing for attention, issue of religion is becoming the opium, by which a lot of persons take decisions, a lot of persons show solidarity and alliances. But in this context, with the same-faith ticket, president and vice president elect, when they become number one and number two citizens, it's just natural that you give the other religions the opportunity to produce number three and number four candidates. It will be more collective in terms of assessment rather than being individualistic because of your own selfish and self-serving interests. In the interest of nation building, in the interest of accommodation and inclusion, you need to balance all of these factors.
All right, so that's fair enough. All right, so let me also get your take on this. Do you think first-time lawmakers should be allowed to contest for principal positions, including Senate President or House of Representatives Speaker?
You said which lawmaker?
Do you think first-time lawmakers should be allowed to contest for principal positions, including Senate President or House of Representatives Speaker? First-time lawmakers.
Well, it depends. Well, I think because it's a lawmaking house. When you say lawmaking, it's a lawmaking house. There is always a precedence, and whatever they do must be seen in the eyes of the law to be credible, to be transparent, to be honest, and far away from all manners of subterfuge, subterranean influence, and what have you. So the Senate and the House of Rep have standing rules, I'm told. So if you are a first-timer, the rule does not, support their aspiration to the number one position or number two position, as the case may be, or the principal position. And the logic behind this is very simple. When you say senator, a senator in 1992, who is becoming a senator now, is already a ranking senator, because in the parliament, senators are not to be considered as former senator. There's nothing like former senator. A senator is a senator. And the concept of that rule is that it's a senator who will swear in the senator-elect. So senator-elect is not yet a senator until he's sworn in. And it is the Senate President who swears in every other senator-elect. So that's where the concept of ranking comes in. Because you have been a senator, you are called a senator. You are not called a senator-elect. Even if you are coming second time, third time, fourth time, you are just called a senator. Until you are sworn in as a first-timer, you are a senator-elect. Kanu Agabi suffered the same fate. But if you are sworn in as a senator, and you have become part of the House, and there is an issue of impeachment of the Senate President, or Deputy Senate President, or Speaker, or Deputy Speaker, a senator-elect who has been sworn in to become a senator is qualified to aspire for that position. That was what happened in the case of Senator Ken Nnamani, in 2003, 2004. So that way, he's already a senator in the House, in the Senate, and is qualified to run. But in the context of swearing in, the first assignment, a senator who is ranking has advantage over a senator-elect, who is the first time.
All right. Now, how does the APC ensure that this contest does not lead to divisions in the party, especially if some members defied the zoning agreement of the party to contest the Senate President?
Well, the politics of the APC in this 10th Assembly and even in the governance process will be a different ballgame. You have a president-elect that is a team player, a president-elect that's a politician, having also been a senator in 1990, 1991, 1992. He has been a governor. He understands the rubrics of politics. He understands the idiosyncrasies, the undercurrent elements, and all of that. So he's going to robustly engage quite a number of persons, factors, forces, and issues before decisions are reached. He's going to get involved. Don't forget that the APC called him national leader before he became elected as president-elect. That means he's going to robustly engage with the party. He's going to dialogue. He's going to interact. He's going to engage with quite a number of persons in the party and let them see reasons why they must go as a collective. Don't forget that the opposition, particularly in the House of Reps, are locking behind. Because if you look at the figures of APC as a party and the opposition parties, I think the figures are skewed. The figures are skewed in favor of the opposition party in the House of Reps. It's only in the Senate that there's outright majority by the ruling party, the APC. And so, in reaching at leadership positions, in balancing the equations, the president-elect, when he becomes president, is going to reach out to everyone. He's going to also give reasons why they must, robustly engage the issues and why they must see reasons why he's taking a particular line of action. But what must be overriding in the whole context must be national interest, a deep sense of patriotism, and an understanding that there has to be inclusion, there has to be balancing of the political algorithms, and an understanding that there has to be participation by every geopolitical zone. Even as I say this, the Southeast will definitely still play a role. You can't ignore a zone. Every zone will be accommodated in the whole context of federal character, whether you like it or not. They will have ministers, they have chairmen of parastatals and what have you, to be part and parcel of the power process that will help the president-elect to deliver on his electoral promise to the overwhelming majority of Nigerians. So
right, I asked this question because you remember in 2015, Bukola Saraki contested against the choice of the party and won. Do you see history repeating itself this time?
We had a president in 2015, the outgoing president Muhammadu Buhari, who was non-committer, was a non-participant in the process that threw up Bukola Saraki. So there were some persons who were plotting democratic coup, so to speak, on the one hand, while the party was being led by a leadership that was completely atrophied by the kind of realities that stared it in the face. If the party had stood its ground, and was able to reach out to all the factors that that were at play, there won't be that kind of Saraki scenario. But along the line, the party went to sleep. The neck of the party never met. The NWC were not meeting. We had a leadership that was not proactive enough, to rein in every other person in taking decisions that will be holistic for the party. So that was what happened. But in this case, in this present scenario, you are not going to have that kind of situation, because you are having a proper politician, an activist who has seen it all, who fought the military to birth this democracy. You must continuously give Bola Ahmed Tinubu that credit for being the front runner, the arrowhead of the struggle for democracy in 1999. And today we are enjoying all of that gains.
All right. Because of time, let's also, touch on the House of Representatives. Talking about the race for the House of Reps speakership, how will you describe it?
Well, the same factors that go for the Senate should also be considered in the House of Reps. I want to support a clarion call for, a speaker from other religion aside from the Muslim configuration of the present presidency, of the incoming presidency. I would rather plead with them that as much as they have very popular candidates, you have Wase, you have Betara from the Northeast Zone, we have quite a number of other persons. You have a woman from the Southeast. Please consider balancing the issues of religion and sentiments and emotions surrounding all of that. And also ensure that people, geopolitical interests are, considered on the basis of understanding, on the basis of persuasion, on the basis of appeal, and not necessarily forcing anything down their throat. Because the House of Reps is usually boisterous because of because younger elements of Nigerians are populated in the House of Reps, oftentimes. So they are boisterous, there are traditions, there are scenarios where persons have even jettisoned their party position to contest for leadership of the House of Reps, and they stayed through the course. Tambua was one of those persons. What is it called? Dogara was another, and all of that. So it is just going to be an appeal that we need to consciously and deliberately take decisions that to please, calm the frayed nerves that presently, dominate public discourse in Nigeria. We need to continue calm the tempers, the angers in the land. We need to consciously ensure that we carry people along so that they see themselves as part and parcel of the process, so that this concept of ownership structure that has become a thorny issue in this country will not continue to drive our national discourse.
All right, so to be a bit specific, the likes of Wase, Gagdi, and Dogua are leading the race for the Reps speakership. What can you say of these individuals?
Well, Wase is from North Central Zone. I don't mind if the North Central Zone is given speakership, but there should be a consideration of other religions. And I'm saying this advisedly because of the peculiarities and the discussions that are going across board, the tempers, the angers in the land. When you listen to some pastors, the kind of pronouncement they make, the kind of declarations they are making, you tend to think that, oh my God, without you, this heaven will fall in the next minute. We must, try and see how we can accommodate those sentiments, those kind of emotions that are not going to help us, to grow. So the president-elect, when he becomes president and sworn in on the 29th of May, must try to cut the leadership of, both Senate and House of Reps, those who are from the APC, and even others who are from other parties, for them to please, drive this whole vehicle of national progress in a manner that, we will not drive it to Golgotha, we will not drive it to a predetermined end of failure. We want success at all levels. We want stability. We want cohesion. We want conversation. We want dialogue. The only way you can, see the beauty of democracy is when the government in place has a stable atmosphere to discharge its responsibility as contained in his mandate and covenant to the people. Once you are not able to get this, then you will be busy solving one problem after the other, the issues of impeachment, counter-impeachment, and all of this will slow down the wheel of progress. But I trust Bola Ahmed Tinubu to be a man of great intellect, to be a strategist par excellence, to be a man who is a team player, who can network himself around the rubrics of the legislature and every other segment of the Nigerian society to create that stability of process, stable environment that will help him to drive and deliver on his electoral promises.
All right, so because you mentioned this earlier, we're actually out of time, but quickly, because you mentioned this earlier, and I would like to hear you say it as it is, President Buhari did not initially show interest in the National Assembly leadership. Do you think the President-elect, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, should take such a stance too?
Yes, I can bet you that the President-elect, being who he is, as a strategist, as a politician of note, as a man who can robustly engage issues, who loves the resource of dialogue, is going to get himself involved because it's all about party. There's party supremacy in every contest, in everything you do. There's party supremacy. There is the need for the party to insist. Don't forget that Adams Oshomole insisted that the party under his leadership must produce a candidate of the party as Senate President. And that was what gave birth to Ahmed Lawan. And for 4 years, Ahmed Lawan has been able to stabilize with the Senate without being cantankerous. Aside from those who were trying to railroad him into the presidential contest, Ahmed Lawan was a good guy. In fact, even though he ended the Senate as a rubber stamp assembly, the quality of laws they were able to put in place, even the amendment to the Constitution that the President has been able to sign, is actually a product of the symbiotic relationship that existed between Ahmed Lawan-led Senate and the presidency under President Muhammadu Buhari. So the party must play its role, just like Adams Oshomole insisted then. And in this case, once the leadership meets, the NWC and the neck of the party, they will take decisions, and those decisions must be binding on every member of that party, because the party is driven by a constitution that is subscribed to by anyone who wants to belong to that party.
Thank you very much. We will definitely continue this conversation because we still have a lot to talk about. But I must thank you very much, Mr. Kassim Afegbua, former Commissioner for Information in Edo State, as we discuss the battle for Senate presidency for the 10th National Assembly. Thank you always for your brilliant, blazing submissions.
And call me an agitator for South Senate presidency. You'll be right.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.